I want to turn your attention very briefly to Revelation, the 22nd chapter and the 13th verse. Revelation 22, verse 13. It reads, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. I'm going to extrapolate this a little bit. I'm going to work this text just a little bit this evening. But before you take your seats, I want you to look at someone intently and with focus and say, canceled debt. Here's the second part. Here's the second part. Canceled debt, living legacy. We're going to say that again. Canceled debt, living legacy. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. Canceled debt could be interpreted that my debt is dead. He says, I am. We talked about I am this morning. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. This is the end of my debt. Living legacy. My legacy is alive. If my debt is dead, then my legacy will live. The scripture again says, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. This is the beginning of the realization of my legacy. No, I did not say this is the beginning of your legacy. This is just for many of us the realization of our legacy. And sometimes it takes a foreclosure. Sometimes it takes you missing a few payments. Sometimes it takes you not being to top off the gas for you to realize whose image you were created in. An eternal God automatically suggests an eternal legacy. We understand that we are created in the image of God. Man is a spirit. Man has a soul, and he lives in a body. The most relevant construct of your anatomical makeup, of your makeup period, rather, is your spirit rather than your anatomical makeup. Your spirit is eternal. Thus saying, this is not the beginning of your legacy, but the realization for many of you that you have a legacy. When you begin to understand that you have a legacy, or rather you are a legacy, then there's certain things you do or do not do. I want to connect kind of the dots here, and we're going to go somewhere with this process. We're talking again, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. What is the Alpha in this message? For many of us, the Alpha, this is the beginning process of eliminating our debt. Now I'm going to jump to the Omega, then I'm going to come back. The Omega, of course, the beginning and the end, the first and the last, is the realization of our legacy, or in other words, the reinstatement of our legacy. To reinstate something suggests that it's already existing, but we are restoring it to a previous state, or restoring it to a previous rank. This is one of the how-to nights of the prophetic economic revival. This is one of the take your pen out, take your iPod out, and actually take your BlackBerry out, take some notes, because all it takes is one word that can shift you from one dimension to another dimension. Let me give you some definitions here. We hear a lot about recession, and recession actually connects very closely with the concept of the realization for many of us of debt. A recession is defined as a significant decline in the general economic activity extending over a period of time. Also defined as a time of less business consumption, usually lasting at least 3/4 of the year or 9 months. Essentially, economists would agree that recession is the root cause, not of all debt, but of bad debt. When you understand that a recession essentially means, when you look at CNN and you look at Fox News, you look at Bloomberg, whatever your choice of daily information is, it's increased consumption. That's what the whole stimulus check was about. The stimulus check was issued so that you would go out and spend more money, actually giving you a false reality that your economic situation had been resolved. So decreased consumption and increased expenses. What do you mean increased expenses? Increased expenses meaning the cost of oil increases, meaning the cost of gasoline increases, meaning it costs the trucking companies more money to deliver the same food to the grocery store. So what happens? There's food increases. The food doesn't last as long. The food is not fresh. So what do? You are paying more for the same thing. In recessions, we work harder and we earn less, because the decline of our currency, when contrasted to the increase of the European euro or to the British pound, when you look at it globally, you're working the same amount of hours every day, but the money that you're earning is actually less valuable than it was 6 months ago, 9 months ago, 12 months ago. So in essence, a recession is the root cause of this bad debt. Now, many of us are living in a perpetual recession. Our mindsets are living in a perpetual recession. So even though the economy is in a recession, one African-American economist said that when the nation is in a recession, African Americans and other communities, diverse communities, are in a depression. Many people would suggest that they lived consistently in a recession. This is nothing new for you to miss a payment. This is nothing new for you not to be able to top off the gasoline. Many people have a lifestyle of recession. And so we come to give you some insight, some revelation, some motivation, so you can break this negative, deadly curse of living beneath your privilege. I want to give you real quickly 7 lifestyles of living in a recession-proof or a debt-proof zone. This morning, you were introduced to the concept, I am living in a debt-free zone. Many of you were running. Many of you were shouting. Many of you were giving. But let's talk about the practical steps to implementing this debt-free zone. See, this is not just the time for the church to preach cute little sermons with no information that suggests, how can I actually experience the debt-free zone? How can I implement a hedge of protection around me during this season of economic opportunity? The first lifestyle is a lifestyle of learning. This is the season for you to learn. This is the season for you to accumulate more information. This is the season for you to be a listener rather than a talker. This is the season for you to be in tune to that prophetic DNA that exists in each and every one of us. This is the season for you to be an intellectual person.